Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we will be learning how to create a dynamic landing page. Okay, so we will start off with the doc type, HTML, okay, and then the HTML tag. Then we move on to the head, and inside the head I'll just put some title for the page. So title, and then suppose dynamic landing page. Okay, I close the title, and after this I also want to link the CSS. So for that, what I'll do, I'll just write link over here, and I'll just write, and here I can mention like style sheet. Okay, and herein I can mention the href which I want to enter. I mean, like when I make the CSS, then after that you can add on the CSS name over here. Fine. So this is done, and then we move on to close the head, and then coming on to the body. Okay, so let me show you like how basically the web page should look like. So this is what the web page should look like. Okay, so in order to make this web page, so if you see, like if I hover my mouse, this comes up and then this comes up. So basically this is a landing page for my website. Okay, similarly we have to create it, right? And then like what CSS, what coding we should put in over there, that we will see. Okay, so this, if you see over here, this is like the banner image, or you can also call it as a background image, which we have put, or I have put, wherein it's there in the header part. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, we have two headers over, two headers over here. That means first this one and then the other one. So these three comes under the h2, and this one, the first one, this is only under h1. Okay, this we have to create. Now if you see the website landing page, we also have a button which is saying learn more. Okay, so we have to create a button also. Fine. Next, if we move on, the background of the image should be white, and then over here if you see, when I hover it, so it should reflect on the screen. Similarly with this, and then at the last we have to put a footer. This one would be the footer. Okay, so let's go back to our code, and then let's see how to do that actually. So inside the body, I'll move on with the header. Okay, and inside the header, since I said like we have h1 and h2, so let's start off with the h1, wherein says welcome to coding made easy. This is what I want. You can change it according to your choice, like how you're making. And then underneath welcome to coding made easy, I want to put a p tag which says like what exactly it's all about, like what exactly the landing page is about. So you can write it over there like learn coding in easy. Okay, I'll close the p tag. Once I close the p tag, now if you see the website, you also have over here a button. Okay, so for the button, what you have to do, I'll just open up the button. Okay, and the button tag, and inside the button tag you can write class. Okay, and inside the class, this is an action button, so I'll mention action button, wherein like you can click and you can go to a next page. Okay, and inside this I'll write learn more. Okay, that's the button part. Fine. Now if you see, if you go back to the website landing page, if you see, there is apart from the header, there's nothing left out for us. Okay, so what we have to do, we have to now move on to the sections which I have created. Okay, so this is the first section, this is the second section, right? So now we have to go on to the section part. So what we have to do now, close the header. Okay, and then move on to the section part. So I'll write section. Okay, so basically two sections I have created, so let's take the name. So section class I can write, and inside the class I'll write programming. Okay, and then I'll make a div wherein I'll write okay. So underneath programming, what will come up first is this Python, and then a little bit description, and then the second section, which is this one. So again HTML, and then a little bit description. So basically these are two sections. So for that, what we have to do, we have to put in the header. So these are H2, right? As I said in the beginning. So H2 is HTML, and then if we see again, it says backbone of the website. So what I'll do, I'll just mention a p tag. So whenever you have to use some information like writing a little line or a paragraph, at that point of time you use a p tag. Inside the p tag, what I'll write, the front end or front end of website. Okay, next what do we have? Okay, next we have is the second, that is over here. If you see, the second one is HTML and Python. Okay, so now we are moving on with the Python. So what I'll do, first of all, I'll close this div. I have to create another div, and I'll mention class, and inside the class I'll write programming, wherein now I'll create an h2 which says Python. Okay, and then the h2 close, and then you can create a p tag which says of website. Okay, that's it. Now what we have to do, we have to go ahead and close off this div. Now these two divs are done, so our section part is done. We have created the sections, right? So now we have to close off the sections. Okay, the section is closed. Now what is left out in the website, we have to create this particular footer as well, right? So for that, what we'll write footer tag. Okay, and then inside this we can use a p tag, and for giving up at the rate, you can write at the rate 2023 coding made easy, all rights reserved. Okay, and then close off the p tag. Now all these things are done. Then what you have to do, close the footer, close the body, and then close off the HTML. Now your HTML part is done. What is left out for us is, now what we have to do, we have to go ahead and give the CSS design to it, right? That means you have to put in this particular image, the background image, and you have to make these two sections as, like, when you hover it, it should come out of the screen and tell you, yeah, this is Python, this is HTML. Okay, so for that you have to create the CSS first. So this is another page, landing.css, wherein I'll create the CSS for this. Okay, so I'll start off with the body, and inside this I'll mention the font family. So let's say the font family is Arial and sans serif. Okay, I'll put some margin, padding to it. Okay, and I want a background color, so background color, and okay, and I also want the text alignment to be in center according to the website which we are just seeing. Okay, the landing page which we just saw. Next, I'll move on to the header. Okay, so first, inside the header, what we have to do, we will have a image, right? This image we want first of all, so background image we need to put. So for that, we'll write background. Okay, and inside this I'll write URL wherein I'll place on the URL. So you can, so this is my actually path wherein my image is there. You can also place your path directly. Okay, and this is done. So I'll put now color. Now if you see the website here, this is the image and then the rest of the part is white, right? So here I'll put the color as white. So I'll write color and then white. Okay, next what comes up? Next comes up the padding part. So I'll write padding. Okay, and inside the padding part I'll write TEPX. Let's say I take it as 20x. Accordingly you can change it. Okay, and background size I'll put it as cover. Okay, and the background position should be in center. So these all things you need to be, take care when you are working on with the CSS, like where do you want your elements to be placed in your landing page or in your website. Okay, now my header part is done. Next I come up to my header 1, h1. So I'll write header h1. Okay, so h1 I just want the font size and the margin. Okay, that means h1 over here, this is the h1, rest are h2. Okay, so for h1 I'll put the font size. So let's say the font size I put is of 2.5. Okay, and margin, with this I put it as 20 pixels. Okay, now we have to go on with the header p tags which we have put, right? So for that I'll just write header p, and then inside this the CSS we have to mention. So again I'll put the font size and the margin, right? So font size over here, because the p tag should be a bit small from the header. So header we have taken 2.5, so here you can take it as 1.2, depends on yours project what you have. And then next we have to take the margin bottom. Okay, so this I can keep it as 30px, let's say. Okay, now this is done. Now what we have the action button. Okay, this is the button. So for this we have to write the CSS, right? So we can write it as dot action button, and then inside this we can mention the padding, the background. Okay, so I mentioned 10px, 20px, and then background. Background color which you want it to be as, right? So okay, and then color should be white, so I'll write as white. And then after this you need the border. So border accordingly you can give and want it. So border, and then after that cursor, because I want to click on the button and then go to another page as well. So for that cursor, and then I'll put it inside as pointer. Once the cursor is run, I'll put the transition. So transition would be background color. Okay, and it should be like. Now this is the action button done. Okay, now if we see the website, the hover part is also there, like wherein when you hover on this particular part, this also comes up. Like when you hover on the action button, this also comes up. Okay, so this we have to also style it with the help of CSS. So for that I'll write action button, and then you can write as hover, right? So I'll write hover, and then inside this, like once, so here if you see in the website, so when you hover in the action button, the color goes a bit dim, right? So for that what we can do, we can just write background color. Okay, and the background color you can put it a bit dim, depends on the color which you are using. So is what we used. And then after, now comes on, if you see the, now what we have to do, we have to only work off with the section part, wherein you have to create the class for that, right? So here the section part, the class created. Okay, so for this programming, and then coming on to the footer part, so you can just add it. Okay, so footer, and then similarly for the programming and programmings, the features, right? So basically what kind of feature you want to put it into your website. So accordingly, suppose we have the class of programming, and then we had a class which names that programmings, and inside this I have HTML and then Python. So that means two boxes will get created. So for that you have to create the CSS accordingly. So then create the CSS. So this is for programming, wherein the margin, padding and everything will come up. Same for the programming, and then the footer part. So what kind of color you wanted the footer. So we saw in the website the footer was black color, and then the text was in the form of white. So that's why background color is hashtag 333, and then the color is white, and the text should be in center. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to just go ahead and save this off, and then we can check out if we have achieved what we wanted or not. Okay, so one more thing, so you have to just change it over here like landing. Okay, so whatever the CSS file name is there, you have to just put it over there in href. Okay, then only it will work, otherwise it won't. Now the name of the HTML file of mine is landing.html. so here, this is my browser, so landing, here it is. So this is landing, so I'll open this off. Okay, now if you see, this is what we wanted and this is what we got. So here we have the banner of the landing page, that is the background image of the landing page. Then we have the header which we entered, that means welcome to coding made easy, and then underneath is h2, and then we have the features of the landing page. That means when you hover it, it will come up like this. It came up, and then this is the footer, and this is what, like if you hover on the button, it's coming up, right? So that's how you can create a successful dynamic landing page.